Hello and welcome to this panel on a world ruled by mayors. My name is Laurenz van Ginneken. I'm one of the project officers at the European Liberal Forum, the official political think tank and political foundation of the ALDE party, and also member because of that of Renew Europe in the European Parliament. I bring to you today like a lovely international panel with 4 people who are very active, of course, in local politics. We have here François Decoster, mayor of Saint-Omer in France. We have Clotilde Armand from like mayor of Bucharest Sector 1 in Romania. We have next to her Arkadiusz Mazepa, the vice mayor of Świnoujście, and next to him is Jakub Banaszek, the mayor of Chełm. So this is a very important topic, because if we actually look also, for example, over half of the world are living in cities. Here in Europe, it's even over 70% of people are living in cities. Cities are one of our strongest, like the local municipalities also are the strongest version also of belonging that we have, of our identity. Yet when we are looking into international politics, we are mainly talking about nation states, large power blocks. And then also if we actually have a look at the American political theorist Benjamin Barber, he held actually a plea for a world ruled by mayors, because that would actually take away a lot of tensions in the world. And we see that mayors internationally also prefer to collaborate and work together instead of working in the power struggle that we sometimes see between the blocs. So where do we stand with that idea today in practice? And yeah, I'm of course going to the speakers. Where do we stand with the idea today with the plea for a world ruled by mayors? Should the mayors rule the world? What would you need for that? Would you need, for example, to reinforce your local councils and your local administrations? And if yes, what extra responsibilities and resources would you need for that? And whoever would like to take the first question, the first answer. Anyone? Or maybe of François? Because, of course, François, you're also the president of the Committee of the Regions from the Renew Euro group, if I'm correct, right?
Right, correct. Let me first say that I think that Barber raises this issue because he thinks that, and it is true, that among politicians, I must admit that mayors are still the most supported ones. And all the polls will actually prove that. Why? That's the issue. What are the people expecting from politicians today? They're expecting to be able to communicate directly to them, to see what they do, and to be able to evaluate and to control the action that is done. So for me, the issue that raises Barber is more what is the appropriate scale of political action? It happens that in France we have a lot of mayors. We have 36,000 mayors. Are we a better governed country because we've got so many mayors? I'm not so sure about it. But my feeling has changed over the last years about it, because we have very large towns, but we have very small villages. And that's really the issue about subsidiarity. Subsidiarity is really at the core of the European project. That is to say, we have to put the level of action where it is most appropriate, where it is the most efficient. And I could see that in some villages, they lack a lot of resources. Let me take an example. Some month ago, I had the big floods in my territory. And I could see some of the mayors of small villages totally in panic because they had not resources. They were not prepared to crisis management. They had no staff to be with them. Whereas in my town, which is a bit larger, we were a team together 24 hours a day, able to be next to the people to bring some direct answers. So a world ruled by mayors, what does that mean? Does that mean people connected, politicians connected to directly to people, that people can go and see and communicate with? That's the level. That's just my first answer to open the debate.
Yeah, I'm the mayor of Sector 1 Bucharest. It's the wealthiest port of Bucharest in Romania, a budget of €500 million per year, to give you an idea. Well, I would say that the mayors are indeed the most popular because they're the closest to the issues of the people. And I would like to answer that it depends of the mayor. In my case, after communism, there were a series of mayors who were still from a socialist or communist tradition. And the results that I could observe as a mayor is the following. When I would go to blocks, people would say, when are you going to repair the roof? When are you going to repair the lift? When are you going to take care of the green spaces around? I would go to schools and they would say, when are the city servants going to repair the windows or the classrooms? Basically, mayors who are from this communist tradition or socialist tradition have infantilized. The people are like children, like babies, and they want the mayor, their father, to do everything. I believe that a good mayor is the one who is giving them back the responsibility and the means to do things. Instead of doing what my predecessors have been doing, which was to repair the blocks with thermal rehabilitation, but everything being done by the city, what I'm trying to do is to responsibilize, to decentralize, and to make people responsible for their lives, for their blocks. It is now private property, but they didn't understand that. They still have the feeling that it's the state property. You know, this is something they didn't realize, because during communism time, and it was state property. So what we need to do as mayors is to empower people in order for them to be actors in their neighborhood, in their blocks, in their schools. You know, the school system is the same. Now we have councils who are managing the school. The city hall is providing the funds. But no, it doesn't work actually, because parents still have not understood that they are in those councils. They still expect the mayor to provide even the furniture instead of empowering schools, empowering. Okay, so we have all this. We have to think about, this decentralization, and the same with about, and the same when we are talking about housing. How do we make people responsible for their lives, for the families, for the neighbors, for their neighborhoods? So this is the issue of a mayor today.
Yeah, and what do you think about it? Maybe Mayor Banaszek, do you agree with the vision that has been given here, or what would actually make a good mayor, like more decentralized, a mayor who really also lets people be independent and work independently, also within their community, or do you think it would be better to be like a sort of housekeeper mayor? What's your point of view on this?
Dzień dobry Państwu jeszcze.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation and for the possibility to participate in this panel. I will wait until our co-panelists will put the headsets on. Can you hear us? Yes, can you hear? Okay, lovely. So, ladies and gentlemen, the world ruled by mayors. Well, I am a mayor in a city of 60,000 inhabitants. We have a lot of responsibility. We co-rule the world, but we don't rule it ourselves. Well, of course, the biggest agency is on our part because we are the closest to people. We respond to crisis situations immediately. That was demonstrated by the outbreak of war in Ukraine. And I'm saying that as a mayor in a town at the Polish border who coordinated help for the refugees, and in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which shown that without mayors, without local authorities, nothing could be done. But we are restricted by the amount of resources, financial resources that we have. We have as much as we have, and that's of course, we have a lot of executive power. We meet the needs of our residents. We are the closest to them, but we depend on the central government. And in order to deliver on our tasks, at least in Poland, we need good cooperation between the central government and the local authorities. And from what I've heard from my colleagues in other countries, it's rather similar. When it comes to the management model, well, without local authorities, you can't respond to the needs and expectations of our residents. Well, the housing need is one of the biggest. And of course, the state can have the best programs, schemes, but the government can't do it alone. The central government, it has to be supported by the local governments. We are speaking more and more often about social housing, about social housing communities. These all-country housing programs not always work well and not always materialize, as François has just said. In each country, we have many mayors, and there are many cities, towns, and villages, and they make a big power. But even through our associations, I'm also a deputy president of the Association of Polish Mayors, and we take part in the dialogue. We contribute to developing legislation, but we will also always be a partner. But the leader will always be the central government.
To continue, of course, with Vice President Mazepa, what is your also your vision about this? Like, how do you see the healthy role for a mayor in your city? What would be like a healthy role? What kind of mayor would be a good mayor?
Dzień dobry, szanowni państwo. Ciężko tutaj jakby.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I definitely agree with my predecessors here, but it's true when we look at Poland and where we are right now. After the reform, it was defined that the most important administrative unit is community, or in other words, the mayor. And it's indeed very good that quite often the mayors are not politicians. Many of them just grew out of grassroots movements. And as Madame Mayor said, after the fall of communism, the more close to society, to community we are, the better we can manage, the better we can feel the climate, and the better social participation will be, better cooperation with the inhabitants, for example, in terms of the housing policy, or cooperatives, housing cooperatives, or let's say managing housing cooperatives, or even single apartment houses. We may decide how to carry out a renovation, and mayors can support our initiatives. In terms of education, also we should apply the same view. And globally, we provide infrastructure, improve infrastructure, equipment to make it more modern, to pass on technology to the young generations, to enable the highest level of education possible. Of course, in stages, but we want to ensure a certain rhythm. And again, I agree with Mr. Mayor that as local government officials, we want to have greater influence over redistribution of finances, because we know who needs them, but we're partners, not decision makers.
No, I just wanted to react. I understand very well what you're saying, that you need, when it's about social housing, to administrate correctly this. What I was saying is that in my case, in Bucharest, Romania, the mayor is taking care of all the buildings, even if it's not the property of the state, it's private property. But the expectations are still that the government should take, actually the mayor should take care of this private property. So there is still a mix between what was communism, what is the new world, and there is a dilemma that every mayor is having. Should we take care of this property? Because even if it's private, the people expect that, that we change the lift, that we whatever, the thermal rehabilitation that was done everywhere, or should we give the money and have partnership with the private citizens so that they do it and they assume it is now their property. Now they have to understand it is their property and they need to take care of it. So when you were talking, I had the maybe in your mind, as it is in the West, it is obvious in the West that a mayor would take care only of social buildings, not of everybody's building. But here in the East, it is still we are still in this dilemma. Should the mayor take care of the roof because people expect that even if it's private if it's a private property, or should we allow people to understand that now they should take care of the green spaces, they should take care of their schools. We have the money, we can give them the money, but they have to do it and take ownership. Okay.
So like a choice between micromanaging and actually being a leader of empowering your citizens, of taking also matters into their own hands, of building together, or the cities building together their towns, of making it also like their own ownership. So like the bit of the dilemma that you have right now.
But the challenge is that, and why mayors are still a bit popular, it's because of the concept of accountability. You know where to find the person. You know the office. You know where the city hall is. So you can go and knock on your door. And we're talking about housing problems. It reminds me, 2 weeks ago we were at the ALDE Congress in Lisbon, and we had a summit of liberal mayors there. And really, housing is an issue for all of us right now. All of us, because there's a crisis between the expectations of the people and what the market offers and the public fundings going there. And every day I have people coming out sending messages because they want a house. And they want a house because they want a little garden, because they want to have an extra room for the friends coming, and so on. So we have to put the limits. And sometimes maybe I think that, to come back to your issue, mayors can explain the reality because we are still entrusted to do so. Like Clotilde said, we have to explain to people that maybe they can have dreams, but there's also reality. And national politicians cannot do that anymore because they have made their careers in showing up dreams. Now we're going to the moon, then we'll go to March. I mean, mayors, we're not promising all that. We are promising a new road, and people expect that the road will be repaired within the next month. And if it is not done after 2 years, then they would vote for somebody else. And they know that because there is this concept of accountability. They know where to find us, and they know how to sanction us.
Yes, so indeed, of what you're saying now, also regarding the accountability and also the proximity, of course, of mayors towards the inhabitants, would it then indeed not be more interesting of having, let's say, more of a say also as mayors, for example, within the European project? Actually, my next question would be like, how can we ensure that mayors will become a strong force and not just a voice, influencing also European policy making? Because of course, when we are making on transnational level new legislations, in the end, it also has to be implemented on the most local level. But how can we ensure like a stronger position for mayors within Europe? Maybe I can start with that question with Vice President Mazepa.
Dziękuję bardzo. Wydaje mi się, że my...
Thank you very much. I think that we as mayors, among panelists, we have leaders Okay, we have a vice president of the Association of Communes, and we have European regions represented here. We are indeed trying to build organizations, create relations in our country. We also have provinces with marshals representing large regions internationally, and they are reflected, they have their position in the Committee of the Regions. They represent in a way the mayors in which direction the EU should turn with all of the regions and the communities. So if we were able, I'm just speaking for our local self-governments, if we could convince mayors and the head of counties that they can consult legislative acts of the European Union, that they can speak and talk about them. They can directly work with the European Commission. And myself, I worked with the European Commission before. I've been on the local self-government for about 20 years at many levels, so I can see there is no education for mayors. They don't know how to take advantage of this consultation, of these possibilities, opportunities outside of the governmental zone. Of course, partnerships between neighboring countries are important to carry out cultural, sports, and economic projects transnationally, but it's us, local governments, that carry out those projects. We apply for funds, we get the funds,
Ale poprzez to, że takie są oczekiwania naszego społeczeństwa, że czasem zmienia burmistrza, zmienia wójta, zmienia prezydenta, że ktoś inny będzie za sterem, to nie każdy do końca jest przygotowany i wchodzi gotowy do administrowania, do zarządzania i ma pełną wiedzę, jakie ma kompetencje, jaki ma wachlarz do tego, żeby oddziaływał na swoją politykę lokalną, ale miał też wpływ na politykę międzynarodową.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And what are your experiences with it, actually, Mayor Banaszek? Like also with the international level, and how can we ensure also a stronger voice for mayors further?
Przede wszystkim myślę, że musimy sobie realnie odpowiedzieć na rzeczywistość i w żadnym państwie nie da się przebić powyżej pewnego pułapu. Oczywiście modele, czy w zasadzie ustroje państw z jednej strony nie różnią się aż tak bardzo, ale mogą się różnić co do rozwoju i co do samej tkanki właśnie wspomnianych województw czy landów, bo to w każdym państwie województwo, land jest to taką najsilniejszą jednostką i to zresztą widać na przykładzie Polski, to marszałkowie mają największą władzę, ponieważ rozdzielają środki unijne, są głównym operatorem. Czy to się w jakiś sposób da jeszcze udoskonalić? Wydaje mi się, że nie. Natomiast można na pewno wzmacniać partnerstwa, o których mówili moi poprzednicy. Musimy bardzo dużo w nie inwestować.
Partnerships, we can invest a lot in that and educate. And of course, local government officials very often enter governmental politics, or they become members of parliament, members of the government, and they should not forget the local government perspective. Very often their point of view changes once they advance. Once we are on a local government, we want to get as much funds as possible. We want to carry out as many projects as possible in a cooperative way. But later on, for example, a politician thinks differently because they represent the interests of a whole population rather than local interest, and that should be taken into account. So speaking about housing policy, for example, in Poland, mayors are responsible only for the property of the city, and they are disallowed to intervene in any private property. So we can see there's a difference here, but it's an instrument that can give mayors a certain ability, because we shape the local housing markets. There are a lot of opportunities here. We must be realistic. So organizations such as an Association of Polish Cities or the Committee of the Regions is very necessary institutions, great venues for exchanging ideas, consulting, build things, create things. We can improve this partnership, but we cannot go any further, because that follows from the adopted, let's say, legal systems in different countries.
Focus of local administration has been on rehabilitating blocks. So we have about 1,000 blocks in Sector 1 which have been rehabilitated with European money or borrowings. It was done in a centralized way. So it was and it is still currently, the program is that it's finished. Huh? So basically the City Hall was managing this money and renovating the blocks. Doing this, of course, you have issues. You know, it's not well done. Then the wall starts falling, and all the windows were removed and changed with better windows, and so the effect was that the people, they had the feeling that the city is providing everything, and that we are responsible after 5 years if the window is leaking, if the roof is leaking, if so. And it was basically the continuity of communism, but this time it was from Europe. As a mayor, I think it would be much better next time when we manage these funds, and this is what I'm doing right now, to make sure that the funding can be handled in a decentralized way. So this is what I'm saying each time I'm talking about, European funds are being used at local level. We need to make sure that the people get the money and do the investments as responsible citizens. Because if all the money is being managed, even at the level of a mayor, it's better than at the national level, I would say. But as a mayor, I can see the effects, which are not good. As I said, we have the same thing at the level of schools, which you would say, okay, it's not so important. But yes, it is, because I have 100 schools in my district, 50,000 children going to school. And it is important that the parents within the local council of the school, with the teachers, I mean, the government is well done. It's just it's not being used. It is important that they take ownership and they manage the funds, because when the City Hall is renovating a school with European money, and the reception of the works is being done by the City Hall, not by the parents and by the direction of the school, whatever happens afterwards is responsibility of the City Hall, which is managing 100 schools. So we need the European money to be managed at even a lower level than mayors, and this is extremely important for the mentality, for the psychology, for the way everybody is taking responsibility for their own destiny. So this is my fight right now, to have those funds being. I mean, we provide the money, but they do the works. They take the responsibility.
Yeah, okay, indeed, because actually I'm going now also to you, of course, Mayor Decoster, because we've heard a few things here. Indeed, the Committee of the Regions as a platform to exchange ideas, for example, to learn, network, to get ideas from Europe to a municipality and vice versa. We also heard here a clear plea for more decentralized way of distribution of the funds and of working. So how can we actually ensure that these visions and that that actually the power, or that we can enforce mayors also to have more of a grip on the European Union to actually to try to really empower these kinds of changes?
they have to take the power. It's not the other way around. I mean, the European Union works. It is functioning accordingly treaties, but we have a part of this in these treaties because the Treaty of Maastricht created the Committee of the Regions specifically because some of the competencies that were transferred to the EU were not coming from national governments, but they were coming from regional or local governments, and that's the reason we were created. Now it is our duty to be really connected with the 1,200,000 elected representatives all around Europe, and that is the challenge because we're not. As members of the European Committee of the Regions, completely devoted 100% of our time because we're still mayors. I'm still a mayor and vice president of my region. And this is different for our neighbors of the European Parliament because they do 100% of the time as parliamentarians. But we are trying to connect with the regions and the towns all over Europe. The way we're trying to do it is really, we've just launched a few months ago a network of EU local councillors. That is to say, for each town, each village, there should be somebody in the council looking at what's going on at the European level and also sending messages to the European level. I did it in my urban district. It's a urban district of gathering 53 towns, so they are large towns, but they are very small, tiny villages. And even in small villages, there is somebody in the council that has a European perspective. And the thing is, we gather every like 6, 7, 8 weeks. We talk about EU affairs, and little by little, they know and they learn about the EU functioning, and they give me also their feelings of the needs, what they need from the EU, and what they feel the citizens agree or disagree with what's going on the EU level. So now, it's very simple to be a member of that network. You just have to click 3 times on your screens. That is what we got from the European Committee of the Regions in the last month. And then that's the reason why the European Commission has created its own network of local and regional representatives to compete us, but they lost. They lost because I think mayors, they enjoy talking to other mayors. That's the reason why Benjamin Barber called for the creation of a global parliament of mayors. That global parliament of mayors exists already in the EU. That's the Committee of the Regions. And we should change our name because Committee of the Regions and of the towns, actually. And we have more mayors than people coming from the regions, actually, in the Committee of the Regions. That's the tricky part of understanding the EU. And they always say words that don't reflect the reality. Like the Council of Ministers, it's actually a parliament of the states, but we call it the Council of Ministers because it's composed by ministers. Nobody can answer that. The Committee of the Regions has the same. It's regions, but also mayors. So we should change that. But I mean, now you've got the possibility until the end of the year, so still 2 months and a half, to just click. You go on the website of the Committee of the Regions, and you can become an EU local councillors of our network. Because we won against the Commission, but because of the comitology of the Commission, they have agreed that they lost the competition between the networks, but under one condition: to become one member of that network, because then we are merging the 2 networks. After the 1st of January, then you will need to be elected by your assembly, which will decrease the rhythm of membership. Now we have 3,000 members of that network. After the 1st of January, it'll be more complicated. So all of you, if you want to become part of that network, there's the team here of the Renew Europe group here. You can come and see them, and they will help you to become an EU local councillors and to be connected. That is to say, to share information in 2 directions. We will invite you to events. We will ask your advice for our plenary sessions, and that is the way. We're not going to create the global parliament of mayors as Benjamin Barber wanted to do so, but we will do the European parliament of mayors. And that is a little step towards the progress.
So a warm plea indeed. So what do you think of it, Mayor Banaszek? Will you also maybe call upon your local council for people to register for this initiative? Are you partaking yourself like an initiative like this, or are you interested for the future to partake in this network? Or like how do you feel? How do you feel about this call to action?
Przede wszystkim
Well, first of all, I believe that today networking to any local authority is very important. That opens up a great possibility to exchange views and to establish strategic partnerships and to establish contacts, and that's I think one of the major things that we have received from the membership in the EU, that is partnership and the possibility to exchange experience, of course, apart from the cohesion policy. And also these exchanges, this networking worked very well in the times of crisis, in the times of after the outbreak of war in Ukraine. But what worked really excellently, partnership between towns and cities. We could do much more to refugees from Ukraine in the first days through these partnerships. So this entire network is important, and I can't imagine not having it. But of course, we should encourage as many local authorities as possible to participate in these networks. Well, there are different networks. Well, but previously you touched upon some issues such as the popularity of mayors. And as the deputy mayor of Świnoujście said, this popularity, on the one hand, well, we are the closest to the citizens and we respond to their needs. But if we don't respond to their needs, then very quickly we can be replaced with someone else. And that's this negative side of it, because not always you can address all these needs. If you don't have financial resources, you not always solve all the problems. So that's so what we propose. We need, of course, more funding for investment to better cater for the demands and expectations of our local residents, not just for the fun of it, but because people have more and more needs, and that, of course, that works very well for the economy. Well, the world ruled by mayors, yes, mayors can also fuel local economy. They can rule the world, but they need resources and tools. And one more comment, well, what should happen for the voice of mayors to be better heard? Well, I've just spoke about fostering what we already have, but there is one very important aspect, well, the emotion of our local populations, of our local community. If our local community wants to give more voice to the mayor, they will vote for the strongest people.
Regarding the network, because you actually show that it's not just about networking and talking, it's about indeed constructing a network and doing good things with it, and actually enforcing also like enforcing the help in times of need and crisis. And then we also quickly go to Vice Mayor, Mazepa. Like also, will you actually, for example, when you return to your city, like to your town, will you actually call there within the city council to become for members to become a part of the committee of the regions for their political groups? Like, would you actually ask them to do that actively, so that you also have more links through them within Europe?
Can't say no.
Thank you for this question. Well, I know this network. I know this model of cooperation with the Committee of the Regions and the European Commission. there was some resistance, but I managed to encourage some of our local councillors from the Western Pomerania. I did it 2 years ago to be more active at the European level, but there are not many people willing to do that. There won't be many people willing also to click this or to push these 3 buttons. Well, before we explain how it works or that it will not collide with their professional responsibilities, it takes some time. Well, I can remember the situation when to be a part of the network with the European Commission, you need to be recommended by an elected person. That person had to sign this application. I am very much in favor of this wide cooperation and being engaged in the local authorities and the local community, not only within the region, but also at the level of international cooperation. We're looking at the website of the European Commission. We can learn what policies are important, where the European legislation is heading towards. So everyone, well, people were mayors, people from local authorities, they can look at these legal acts. And I agree that if we have more councillors, local councillors ready to exchange experience in these online meetings, they don't have to go anywhere. They expand their horizons. They can get to learn more about the European Union at the level closer to people.
I was at one point MEP, like a member of the European Parliament, and I can tell you that from the European perspective and from national perspective, the mayors are the last level, the one which is the closest to the people. And now that I'm mayor, I realize that actually, yes, we are, and we need a layer at even lower than ours. When you are a small city, when you are a village, it's fine, you know. The community knows they are involved. They have this ownership because it is their village, their small city. But the world is more and more made of big cities, and the mayor is like the president of a country, if you want. You know, when you have a city with a few million people. We as mayor, we now realize, which I've been saying all this time, we need Europe, we need the national government to understand that we need the instruments in order to be able to not just to manage ourselves the funds, but to give them back so that they are managed at a lower level. And usually what we get from the national laws, the European funds, they say, okay, the mayor is going to do the public spending, you know, when we get the mayor level, but we do get. And we as mayors, we need to have a voice because we know the reality. I'm saying something that is very, everybody knows that, you know, the mayor is the closest they know. But yes, we understand the need to have the instruments to manage this money at even a lower level. And we need, this is the next step. We need to be able to do that, and we need to have this voice in the Committee of the Regions to make sure that European money can be managed at even closer to the communities. And this is what we need to do next.
Yeah, I wanted to react on one issue that has risen, Clotilde, which is about what comes next after the layer of mayors. And I think this is one issue that we have to address as mayors as well, because we are at a time where a turbulent time for representative democracy. It affects a lot the national governments, the European institutions, and sometimes even the mayors. And I think that we are the best place to adapt the functioning of our modern democracies by bringing a bit of representative, participative democracy. I mean, I'm not a mayor of a big town, but I have created the neighborhood councils to try to have more people involved into thinking the town, into managing the neighborhood. They have a small budget that they have to decide to see that it is not as simple as they would think. You have public markets, public offers to go through. It takes a bit more time than you think. And also to adapt the way we shape our policies to bring the people in the first phases of reflection, of preparation of large projects, to restore the main squares of the city center, for example. Now it's to bring the young people that will use a skate park that is being built in next year, but so that they are actors of their projects. And that's the way I think turbulent times of democracies, we're well aware of that, all of us. But I think mayors, because we have still distrust with the people, we are probably the only ones able to bring back the people in the functioning of democracies, that is to say a culture of debate, a culture of compromise, but then to decide and to implement a decision. Because now, at the time of social networks, is I like, I hate, you're bad, you're good. No, that is not as simple as that, but who can do that? I think this is the mayors.
Yeah, and also to give, for example, what we also say, like in the town where I live, because I'm a municipal councillor myself, by the way, where we always say as well as we can have the fiercest and hardest discussions there are, but afterwards we always have to be able to drink a pint together. But before, no, better after. But we have about 10 minutes left. We can continue here with our talk with the panelists, of course, but I'm just having a quick look into the room. If there is any question, I see here that there are two questions here in the middle. Or we even have three questions, but you were first here in the middle because there's light, so I don't really see who you are. My apologies for that. So please state your name, and if it's a question to someone specifically or a general question, we have exactly 10 minutes now.
Dzień dobry, Tymoteusz. Teraz w Szczecinie.
My name is Tymoteusz. I'm linked with the town of Świnoujście, so I address my question to Deputy Mayor Mazepa. The other panelists are mayors. Well, you were speaking about the power that you have in your positions, and you were democratically elected to your position, so you should be at the second or third person in the town. Well, so looking at this, by hearing this question, we would say that in the role in which I am, I'm really the second or the third person in the town. By the mayor was elected in democratic elections. He had to gain the majority, absolute majority in the first round, and then the mayor selects people that he wants to work with, and it's differently at the level of regions or counties. And in any local authority in Poland, if responsibilities are divided between the leader, the mayor, and his deputies, in Świnoujście we have one mayor, two deputies, and they have their level, their area of competence. I'm responsible for the economy, for development strategy, or local, all companies owned by the local government and also by the housing and by the harbor, and how we shape our relations with the residents, how we listen to them, how we communicate with them, how we translate it into the budgets. It's often that often prevents us from doing more because we are limited by our possibilities. So by being the first or another deputy in the local authorities, we of course accomplish goals identified by the mayor. If it is decided that this is the direction in which our city should develop, our task is to do as much as we can to fulfill that vision. But of course, mayors can take decisions independently, and there are certain areas in which they can do that, but there are also decisions where they have to consult the council or the marshal or the governor of the province. And as the moderator said, we can have fierce discussions, but with a view to reach a decision. And the council, the city council, is also elected democratically, so they make collective decisions. They identify what the mayor they decide what the mayor can do, or either they decide he can do that or he cannot do that. Either the funds will be bigger or smaller, because this impact goes two ways. And the truth is that we as deputies, that our task is more difficult in what we do, because we not only listen to to the residents, but we also have to agree together on how the local government will be managed.
We have 5 minutes 50 left.
Okej. Adam Mikołajczyk, jestem doradcą.
Adam Mikołajczyk, I'm a counselor of the Association of Polish Cities, also president of the European Marketing Institute. I have a question for everyone here. The idea of a world governed by mayors is very inspiring. It's associated with a decentralized world. You've talked about it, and I think that for most of freedom games, it's a right idea, so associated with many benefits. You've mentioned many of them. Now I'd like to ask about threats and opportunities. We live in a very turbulent world with a lot of black swans, with wars and armed conflicts, natural disasters ensuing from climate change and migration crises. So the question is, how can we reconcile the decentralized world with these kinds of challenges that can be more easily managed in a more centralized way, centralized at the European or global level? Do you have any reflections on that? Thank you.
Yeah. So give their thoughts on this topic.
I think if we want to be efficient, we need to have a clear vision and a clear direction where to go. And that's the reason for, as you're mentioning, the climatic challenge. We all know here that at least the level should be the European Union. We cannot do it from our different countries. We have to be together, and together we can really have an impact on other continents to go forward. But that is to say, now, if you take some decisions at the EU level, they will be implemented mostly in local levels. And that's the reason why we need to be part of the decision of the European Union. And that's really why I call for the Committee of the Regions to have more impact on the shaping of the EU decisions. And that's why we're going to reform ourselves with a new mandate that will start next February to have more impact. But that's also one of the reasons why we need you. We need to be connected so that the positions of the European Committee of the Regions are not only the positions of 300 of its members, but also from the whole network of local and regional representatives.
Oh, I'm sorry. So in the line of what François said, we don't pretend to have the best vision at the strategical level, but we are the ones knowing the difficulties that we have in implementing. And if the ones who have the vision don't take into account the feedback that we give, then nothing will happen, you know. So it is really, really important that we explain the challenges that we face. Very often we just improvise, talking about the refugee crisis. The main train station of Bucharest is in my district, and even before the government was was discussing the issue, I had already thousands of people coming out of the train station in my district, and I had no laws, I had nothing, but just as an example, in my city hall, every day we prepare and we provide 1,000 meals, you know, for 1,000. Well, so this time we doubled, we tripled with the same people, and we were the ones cutting the fabrics to make bed retreat, you know, and we improvised schools to have those people without any money, because we didn't have we didn't have the right to allocate budgets. But we did it, you know, without budget, without anything. So we implement things even if at the higher level they don't help us. But for something like climate change and the best measures to be improved, we need the measures, you know. We need the laws. We need to know what needs to be done. But the way to do it, we know better. And this is why it is important that our feedback is being integrated.
Yeah, I think you guys should get to the final word for this panel.
Tutaj padło pytanie, czy coś może przeszkodzić.
Questions, can anything prevent us from participate in the decision making about the world? Because as a matter of fact, the world is composed of cities, towns, villages managed by mayors, but world governance, that's accountability. Indeed, there are a lot of black swans. We can't be prepared for everything, but if we know there is a war behind the eastern boundary of our country, I know that I need to build some shelter for refugees, for instance, and I need to do this because I'm responsible for the residents. I'm responsible via the show's election. So,
thank you very much to the audience for being here. Thank you very much for the people watching online on the stream and following us from home. Yes, this was so the panel on a world ruled by mayors. Thank you very much also in the name of European Liberal Forum. Please don't forget to visit our stand, and I hope to see all of you later on. Thank you very much for today.
Dziś Nowy Jork, jutro Londyn. Za chwilę Paryż, Warszawa, Berlin. Na całym świecie kultura pulsuje rytmem. Wystarczy tylko włączyć dwójkę. Dwójka, Polskie Radio. Jesteś na miejscu. Polskie Radio.
Jedynka.
Rodzina spółek Pelion to 12 000 osób pracujących w ponad 300 spółkach w Polsce, Szwecji, Wielkiej Brytanii i na Litwie. Jesteśmy liderem w branży ochrony zdrowia. Od 1990 roku dbamy o długość i jakość życia. Pracować z nami możesz w jednym z 7 obszarów.
Uwielbiam szycie w sieci. Wczoraj podszyłem się pod wnuczka, wieczorem uszyłem intrygę na apce randkowej, a dziś planuję grubymi nićmi szyte oszustwo z promocją. Tak się szyje.
Na oszustów są sposoby. Zapoznaj się z poradami ekspertów na niedajsiepodszyć.pl.
Radość, nadzieja, życie, wyzwanie, pasja, pamięć, zaufanie, pokój, jedność. Słowa tworzą świat. Polskie Radio. Źródło wiarygodnych informacji.
Plany biznesowe powstają z marzeń. Dlatego nie ma dwóch takich samych firm. Jedni chcą działać na całym świecie. Innym cały świat mieści się w dłoni. Sukces biznesu to nie tylko jego wielkość, ale też szczęście, jakie przynosi ludziom. PKO Bank Polski.
Jedzą kanapki z kawiorem.
Nadzwyczajna kasa.
Obrażanie dziennikarzy telewizji polskiej.
Chodzi o działania polityczne.
Przygotowanie ofiar dla pedofilów.
Für Deutschland.
TVP Info. Włącz się na nowo.
It's not always easy to recognize. It may look like this, or like this. It may be a burden, but it is a responsibility that we embrace nonetheless. But if it means this for one person and this for someone else, maybe it ultimately means being there for one another. It isn't handed to us, but we know where to find it and how it feels, how it tastes, and what it sounds like when we finally have it. It means different things to different people, but for many, it means everything. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together.
Ihre Ausreise